So now we're able to load data. We're able to add data. What about editing and about deleting? If I added this and I hit save here, I of course update this. But right now I only update this locally in memory here in my items list in that products class. But I'm not saving the update to a server. So that's of course the next thing I want to do though, because it's not that useful if we only update here in memory. So in the update product method, besides updating locally, it would now be nice to also store that data on a server. And for that here, if we're in this if block here, and therefore we know that we found a product, I now also want to send a request, an HTTP request. I'll turn this into an async method again, and therefore this will yield a future that eventually yields nothing. And now in there, again, time for a request. I want to update a product, so let's take that URL, but we'll have to tweak that URL now. Because this URL targets all products, now I want to target a specific product. The way Firebase works, you can simply add another segment here to the URL after products to basically dive deeper into that folder structure which you see here. So we don't want to target products, but a specific ID. So here that URL becomes products and then that specific ID. The ID is something I get here as an argument, so we can use string interpolation to simply dynamically inject that ID here. Now since that's dynamic and not constant at compilation time, we can't use const here anymore though, we have to use final, because this will only be final at runtime. So with that, that's the URL I want to target, and now we can use the HTTP library and send a patch request. Firebase supports patch requests, and sending a patch request will tell Firebase to merge the data which is incoming with the existing data at that address you're sending it to. Now the address is that URL, but now you also need to add a body again, because of course a patch request needs to carry some data, the data you want to merge with the existing data. And that body, of course, should again be your JSON data, where you encode a map, and that map should now basically reflect my product here. So here I want to send the title, and therefore I access new product.title. I also want to send the description, therefore I access new product.description. I also want to send the image URL, and therefore I access new product image URL, and of course also send the price. Now obviously make sure that the keys you're using here on the left, so title, description, and so on, match the keys you're currently using on Firebase, because as I said, Firebase will then try to merge this with the existing data, and data you have here, which is not part of your existing data, will get added here, but Firebase will, by the way, not drop anything that is here which you're not sending. So it will keep all the data you have on the server, but it will add any new data it detects here, and for data which it already has, it will overwrite the data it has. So if we send this, for example, it will send these 4 fields, merge them with the existing values, but isFavorite, which we don't send here, will be kept. It will not be overwritten. And that's great, of course, because otherwise we would always reset our isFavorite status on our server, and that's certainly not something I want. I only want to merge these fields with the existing data and don't overwrite the other data which we stored there earlier, because only these 4 fields could have changed when update product is called. So this sends the patch request. I want to wait for this, and just as before, you could add try catch here, or later in the place in the widget where we call this, where we call update product, if you want to add error handling. To keep this course module a bit shorter, I'll not do it here. So we're sending the patch request. We get back a response, but I don't really care about that response. It doesn't carry any information, and we wouldn't need any information anyways. And therefore, the only thing which I do here is, once we're done, I go ahead and update my product here. So I update the product here in my local memory. So let's give that a try. Let's save this. Go back here, refresh, and start editing the shirt maybe. I added an exclamation mark after the title, hit save, and we're done. But you see here on the list, it took a short amount of time until the exclamation mark appeared there. The reason for that is that in edit product screen, we are of course calling update product, but I'm not waiting for this to finish before I then well, change my loading state and pop. So indeed here, since this now returns a future, we should also await this and only thereafter do our loading update and pop the screen. And you can of course also wrap this into try catch here if you, for example, want to show an error dialog here as well. But now with that, since I await here, and I also await here, and I also await for my error handling logic, we can also take that set state navigator pop thing and move it out of this if else block here and after the if else block, so here to the end of this overall method which gets triggered when we save the form. We can also get rid of that finally block here, and I'll just comment it out so that it's still there for you to reference it, because now this code down there after the if else block will only run once either that or that or that is done, because we always await this. So now we have a setup that should wait for edits as well, and hence now if I refresh, because of the hot reload the data was lost here. If I edit this again and I change the price here and I then save this, now we see the spinner and we only dismiss this once we're really done updating this. And then we see our updated data here, and we also see that updated data here, of course. Here's the new price, here's the new title. So that is now all working, and with that we're also updating our data. What about deleting?